Hi, class. Hakeem was asking about where we can use augmented chords and where we can use diminished chords. What are they good for? And what I was trying to tell him in our discussion was that both types of these chords uh, are oftentimes used as connecting chords. So they go from one place to another. An augmented chord lends more emphasis to a particular functional chord than just a regular dominant seventh. It adds more power and it makes it want to go to the next chord a little bit more. And I'll show you that in a second in a blues progression. And then if we're talking about diminished chords oftentimes connect in between two other chords that we're going to use in our progression. And I'll demonstrate that too. Now, these are not the only places that we can use augmented and diminished chords, but this is where I'm going to start off, and I'm going to use the blues as a way of demonstrating a good kind of music for us to stick these kind of chords into because they work so beautifully in blues progressions. So if we're in the key of F, and our one chord is an F chord, and then we're going to progress the one chord to a four chord. That's the way it usually works. We can augment the one chord just near the tail end before it changes to the four. That helps us get to the four chord, like this. That's the one chord. There's the four chord. Back to the one. Now let's augment it. Yeah, you've heard that before. Now we're to the four chord again. Let's put in a diminished. And that brings us to a 5/1. Then a six chord. Now a two chord, which I'll augment. That's the augmented. If I didn't augment it, it would be this. It's okay, but I like this. And now our five chord, which is the last chord in the progression, and I augmented that too. Augmented five chord. Okay, that was just some blues in a bit more of a jazz style. And when you're playing rock blues, you're probably not going to use all those extensions and variations. But if you do want to use some diminished and augmented chords, if you're playing more in a jazz style, they come a lot more naturally in that idiom. Here's another little change that you can use for augmented chords. You've probably all heard this. We've all heard that progression used in popular music. Right now I'm in the key of C, and I'm playing a C minor chord, and all I do is lower my root and keep the other two voices the same. I lower the root to a B, and what it winds up becoming is a B augmented chord. So from C minor to B augmented. And then this next chord can be thought of in a couple of different ways. We can call it an E flat with a B flat in the bass. Or we could call it a C minor 7 over B flat. Doesn't matter, it's the same chord. And that chord is a half diminished chord. Not a full diminished chord. It's not this. It's this. So here's our progression. We've all heard that. In one tune that has that would be Summertime. Augmented. Okay, so there's a lot of tunes out there that you can find this progression. Well, that has an augmented chord in it. That's just one other way that we can use an augmented chord. So they are important, and they are used very much as connective type of chords. But you could probably find other examples. Those are a couple just to get you started. I hope that helps clarify things a little bit.